All right, thank you all for being here at our annual meeting. At last year's annual meeting, I opened with a prayer for the return of the remaining hostages and for peace. Thankfully, the remaining hostages came home in October, but unfortunately, we still don't have peace. So I pray, and we've seen a rise in anti-Semitism. So I'd like to throw out there that I pray for peace in Israel, and that we make strides in battling the ugly growth of anti-Semitism across the country and the world. But on a more upbeat note, meanwhile here at Temple Jeremiah, we've had a very busy, successful, and meaningful year. As we transition our rabbi from senior rabbi, Rabbi Cohn, to senior rabbi, Rabbi Heaps, in his 26th year, and Rabbi Heaps will soon be our 4th senior rabbi at Temple Jeremiah. We celebrated Rabbi's 26 years all year, from chocolate tasting to comedy night, and plenty in between, and including a wonderful block party that was yesterday. And our celebration culminates with the upcoming celebration weekend with a special Shabbat on May 29th and our L'chaim on the porch on May 30th, which will be a wonderful celebration. I look forward to seeing everyone there. Not only has it been a meaningful year with Rabbi Cohn's victory lap, but it's been a very busy and successful year. The top of the list was our clergy search committee in hiring our new associate rabbi, Ben Rosen, who will start July 1st. There'll be plenty of meet and greet opportunities to get to know Rabbi Rosen. Another significant accomplishment was the board proceeding with what our recruitment task force put together, which was a strategic plan to be proactive in recruiting. And we started implementing that plan with hiring Kaya Connolly-Sisk as our membership liaison. And she'll be working with the recruitment committee as we push forward for proactive recruitment and try to grow our Temple Jeremiah community. Well, we also recently adopted a strategic direction statement as a blueprint to follow our future success. We had a number of building capital improvements this year, in particular the chapel, where we redid the chairs, and you can now sit there without your tush hurting very badly. Excuse me. We've taken strides to build our endowment to ensure that we have a strong financial future. We had many Tikkun Olam projects, advocacy opportunities, adult education programs, our J-Quest program, B'nai Mitzvahs, other life cycle events. Yes, it's been a very busy and very successful year at Temple Jeremiah. This is my 3rd and last annual meeting as president. When this is over, I will hand the gavel to Avi Greenfield, who will be a wonderful leader in the very near future. I can't express in words how grateful I am for the dedication, hard work, and support across the entire temple. Our board of directors, our executive committee, our clergy, our senior staff, our administrative staff, and all the volunteers at Temple that engage with our community, whether it be a task force, a committee, a program, an activity, or through worship. This is what engagement's all about. And it's all of you that makes us Temple Jeremiah and lets us work towards our vision of being a Jewish community of meaningful connection. So thank you and thank you. We do have a few pieces of business to address before we welcome our keynote speaker, our very own Director of Congregational Learning, Matt Rizian. But before we kick off the meeting with the business, I'll hand it off to Rabbi for Devar Torah.
I invite you to join me in the blessing for study. You can join with me in the blessing, and you can also just say Amen at the very end, which counts you in. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We gather tonight for this annual meeting in the shadow and the light of Parashat Naso from the book of Deuteronomy, a portion whose very name means to lift up. At the beginning of the parashah, Moses is instructed to lift up the heads of the people of Israel, to count them not as numbers alone, but as souls, each carrying dignity, responsibility, and sacred purpose. There's something wonderful and beautiful about that phrase, to lift up. Leadership at its best is never about standing above others. It is about helping people lift one another up. A congregation flourishes when people carry sacred responsibility together with generosity of spirit, patience, wisdom, courage, and love, or as we like to say at Temple Jeremiah, with puff, right? With patience, with understanding, and with flexibility. And that is what we've witnessed and what I have witnessed here at Temple Jeremiah for the past 26 years. Tonight, before we review budgets and continue to celebrate accomplishments and look toward the future, I simply want to pause and offer gratitude. I am grateful for this congregation, for the blessing of serving a community that strives not only to build Jewish life, but to build meaningful connection. I am grateful for generations of members who entrusted me and our clergy team with moments of joy and heartbreak, celebration and sorrow, learning and becoming. I am grateful for the way you have embraced my family, and I am especially grateful for the love and support of my wife, Kathy. Without her by my side, I would not be the rabbi or the person I am today. I am deeply grateful for the volunteer leadership, those present in this room and those who are not present in this room, for the presidents, the board members, committee chairs, teachers, mentors, and quiet sacred servants whose names are not always visible, but whose devotion sustains this community every single day. Jewish communities are never built by one person. They are built by people who continue to show up for one another year after year with nidivut lev, a generous heart. And tonight especially, I want to express my gratitude to the extraordinary clergy team that I have the privilege of working with, Rabbi Heaps and Cantor Mendelson, and the senior staff, Matt Rissian and Danny Glassman, and our staff and executive assistants and everyone, to Annie, to Karen, to Jill, to Rabbi Helbron, to Meredith, Cindy, Florence, Kaya, and Leslie, with whom I've had the privilege of serving together in my 26 years. No rabbi stands alone. Whatever blessings I have been able to offer this congregation have always been strengthened by gifted colleagues, compassionate professionals, devoted educators, musicians, administrators, custodians, and leaders who gave their hearts to this work that we do together. In Parashat Naso, we find the words of the priestly blessing. May God bless you and protect you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God lift up God's face toward you and grant you shalom. That blessing has accompanied our people for thousands of years, but tonight I feel called to say something more personal. Temple Jeremiah, you have been a blessing to me. You have shaped my rabbinate and my soul. Together we built a congregation rooted in learning, compassion, justice, spirituality, music, healing, and belonging. Together we celebrate triumphs and navigated heartbreaks. Together we dreamed, struggled, prayed, laughed, mourned, and grew. And even now, as this chapter of leadership begins to transition, I do not experience this moment as an ending alone. I experience it as gratitude, deep gratitude. Our tradition teaches in Pirkei Avot, it is not upon you to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. This has been our theme this year, and for 26 years it has been the greatest honor of my life to share in this sacred work with all of you. May this beloved congregation continue to go from strength to strength, from abundance to abundance, from blessing to blessing, and may we continue always to lift up one another. Amen.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Rabbi. First piece of business, our consent agenda in our Teams folder. There were two items, our minutes from our April 27th board meeting, and a motion regarding authorized signatures for a recently opened Fidelity investment account. Very thrilling stuff. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? The consent agenda has passed. I would like to invite up our immediate past president, and soon to just be past president, Scott Levin, who has the slate of officers and directors. Scott?
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I will soon get to pass the immediate past to you. And so the nominating committee this year was comprised of myself as the chair, as appointed by our president, Brad Buchanan, Nancy Eisenberg, Steve Levy, Jackie Lutz, Kim Ratkin, Greg Richards, Doug Schabelman, Valerie Slotnick, and Julie Weinberg. So I think about half of that committee is here tonight, and thank you so much for your faithful participation, not only this year, but in the 2 previous years. It was a pretty consistent group. The officers slated to serve for a period of 1 year, ending June 2027, starting with recording secretary is Barb Kite, treasurer Justin Shepard, our vice presidents, of which there are 6, Greg Richards, Alyssa Rogers, Babette Sanders, Tanya Silverstein, Jerry Tater, and Dan Verona. The executive vice president, Brian Rubin. Brian is here. Where's Brian? Right there, thank you. And as Steve already alluded to, for president, Avi Greenfield. For members of the board of directors slated to serve for a period of 3 years, ending in June 2029, we have Sue Weitzman, who graciously served as treasurer through my presidency and has continued to serve on the executive committee, and now will continue to serve on the board. And we have 3 new board members, all of whom participated in our most recent Behind the Beamer Leadership Development Cohort. And I think they're all here. We have Danny Greenberger, Francie Wells, oh, there you are, thank you, and Jim Weiss. So that is our slate. I will just say a quick word, but please come to our Gratitude Shabbat on June 12th. There are several people rotating off or completing service on the board. Lisa Brenner, Karen Brown, Brad Gordon, and John Fellman are all rotating off or completing their service. And Aileen Frost, thank you. I missed that, Aileen, sorry. I think that was a Freudian, you're staying. So thank you. I do not think we need a motion because of the slate is approved. So congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Scott, and mazel tov to the new slate. That's wonderful. I'd like to invite up Brian Rubin, our treasurer, to present the budget for approval. Brian, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Steve. So it is my pleasure to present the proposed fiscal year 2027 operating budget. This budget was reviewed by the board earlier this month, including the underlying assumptions and key risks. All the board input has been incorporated in the proposal that I'll go through in just a minute. For reference, our fiscal year runs from July 1st of 2026 through June 30th of 2027. This proposed budget reflects a year-long disciplined planning process, and I extend my appreciation to the Budget Committee that I've chaired, which consisted of Avi Greenfield, Justin Shepard, Michael Schack, Jeff Krupp, Sue Weissman, and Steve Kleiman. I also want to thank our clergy, our Executive Director, Danny Glassman, and the Temple Jeremiah staff for their leadership and partnership throughout this process. Now, the current economic environment, ongoing inflation, and rising costs continues to put upward pressure on our operating expenses, and increases our reliance on membership and fundraising to cover the cost of our operations. But at the same time, Temple Jeremiah remains financially strong, supported by our endowment resources and the absence of debt. The fiscal year 2027 budget also includes targeted investments in people and engagement, including our new membership liaison, Kaya, and our expanded clergy leadership with Associate Rabbi Ben Rosen supporting our new senior rabbi, Rabbi Heaps, as Rabbi Cohen transitions from senior rabbi to Rabbi Emeritus and senior scholar. Before reviewing the highlights, I have a couple of charts to just provide some overall context of our revenue mix and expense allocation. Here we go. There we go. So in terms of our revenue mix, our projected income, our top three sources remain consistent. Membership, school, and facility representing about 81% of our budgeted income. And if we look at expenses by area, it remains, again, consistent to prior year. The top three categories represent 95% of our total budgeted expenses. That's human resources, salary, payroll taxes and benefits, facilities, which comprises of utility costs, maintenance, security, and supplies, and administrative, phone, postage, software, office equipment maintenance, internet and IT-related services. And so for purposes of management and accountability, the budget's really developed on a department-by-department basis with shared costs such as these human resources, facilities, and administrative costs allocated accordingly. So when we look at how we budget and based on department allocation, our top three areas, administrative, religious services, and building departments account for 84% of total budgeted expenses, which again is a pretty consistent allocation from prior years. So now I'll go through the budget in two sections. I'll first focus on the income side, and then we'll focus on the expense side. From a budgeted income perspective, our fiscal year 27 total income is budgeted at $2.64 million, or a 6% or $149,000 increase from prior year compared to where we're forecasting revenue to be for this fiscal year, which is 2026, of $2.49 million. And the following items represent the primary drivers of the 27 fiscal year income plan. First, for member commitment, the first line item here. Fiscal year 27 anticipates a 2% or $23,500 increase in net commitment revenue. This includes a 1.4% or $50 increase in the full community commitment rate from $3,550 to $3,600 per household. The Budget Committee assumed that our number of households will remain essentially flat, with us gaining 40 new households and losing 38 households. We're also hopeful that we'll exceed in adding more new households with our proactive marketing efforts led by our new membership liaison professional that Steve mentioned, Kaya Connolly-Sick. And she'll be leading our membership recruitment committee and seeking out new families. The next line item is our J-Quest or school income, and that's budgeted to increase 5% or $15,600, driven by projected enrollment growth of 19 students, rising to 234 students across all grades. To help offset the higher program costs, we're proposing a $25 to $35 fee increase across the grades. We'll continue with the sixth grade once a week one-on-one Hebrew tutoring model that we introduced in the past. And we're also going to introduce a new software called Mitzvot Tools with a $100 licensing fee for sixth graders. Facility income, Facility income is projected to increase 17% or $38,000 versus the projected fiscal year 26 results. The key drivers in this facility income is a new contract that we executed with Creator Camp for summer and after-school programming, along with a $25 per household increase in security fee, increasing from $250 to $275 per household to address higher security costs. Fundraising income, our fiscal year 27 fundraising income is projected to increase 18% or $36,000, supported by annual fund gifts, memorial plaques, and leaves, and high holiday giving. And with a major fundraising effort expected to conclude this fall, we anticipate greater capacity to refocus on annual giving in the coming year. And the last category I'll talk about is our miscellaneous income. The fiscal year 27 operating budget includes an allocation of approximately $206,000, which represents 5% of the 2-year average value of each of our endowments per our policy, the general endowment, the building fund, and the Dr. Litsky Education Fund, plus interest and dividends on operating cash balances. These earnings are applied to eligible operating expenses in accordance with each endowment's restricted purpose when applicable. So before I move on to expenses, wanted to see if there's any questions on the income side of our budget. Okay, with that, we'll move on to expenses. Our fiscal year 27 total expenses are budgeted at $2.7 million, or a 2% increase or $49,000 versus our fiscal year 26 expense forecast of $2.65 million. And consistent with the prior year, the Budget Committee recommends certain restricted funds to cover certain operating expenses that are within each restricted fund's designated purpose, and the budget includes $68,000 in restricted fund use. You'll see that in the middle column, the third column from the right. Our key fiscal year 27 expense changes from the prior year by department are summarized below. Administrative expenses are expected to increase 23% or $168,000 due to increased human resource costs and a 15% increase in healthcare costs. Our religious services expenses are expected to decrease 19% or $166,000, and this is largely driven by a reduction in human resource costs resulting from our rabbi transition and the elimination of certain high holiday external programming costs, such as an outdoor tent, screens, and AV equipment, since all the programming is going to be indoors. Our school expenses are expected to increase 11% or $43,000 versus our fiscal year 26 forecast, primarily due to higher teacher and professional salaries and benefits, partially offset by shifting of more programming materials to online delivery. And the last category is building. Building expenses are expected to decrease 3% or $17,000. This reflects the higher underlying building costs, salaries, wages, insurance, and utilities, offset by an allocation of new member fund, building fund costs to cover certain building-related expenditures in fiscal year 27. And so that'll ultimately present a balanced budget. And wanted to see if there's any questions before making a motion on behalf of the Budget Committee. So I would like, on behalf of the Budget Committee, to make a motion to pass the proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget as presented.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Brian, thank you very much. The motion having been stated, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion is passed. We have a budget, and we can function in 26-27. Very good. And thank you all to the Budget Committee. It's a lot of work, and they really did a wonderful job. So thank you, very, very much appreciated. I would like to invite Rabbi Heaps up to present the Toddy Gray Diane Mary Katz Scholarship Award. Rabbi Heaps?
So every year I get to present this award. Going back to that one. There we go, thank you. To one of our graduating high school seniors. And before I tell you a little bit about our winner of this scholarship, just a little bit about who Diane Mary Katz and Toddy Gray were. So Toddy Gray was the mother of Jim Gray and Bobby Katz, the mother-in-law of Martha Gray, grandmother of Larry and Stephen and Kiki and Amanda and Brian, Josh and Carolyn, Jesse and Allie, a lot of people. And was born in 1913 here in Chicago. She was the first member of her family to attend college and graduated from Northwestern University, where she met her husband, Milton. Toddy was warm and loving and was extremely attentive to her children, her husband, her grandchildren, and all of her friends. And she was someone who knew that she could always be counted on to drop everything and help if ever someone asked. She always made time for those she loved, and she set aside special time to be with each of her grandchildren. Her caring nature, sense of humor, and integrity made her a person worth remembering. And Diane Mary Katz was only 32 years old when she passed away in 1999. Diane was the daughter of Bobby and Paul Katz and the sister of Larry and Stephen. She was smart, sensitive, and loving to her immediate family and her cousins, all of whom adored her. She was confirmed here at Temple Jeremiah and graduated from Glenbrook South and Wesleyan University. After time spent working in New York, she returned home to Chicago, graduated also Northwestern, this time the law school, and she was a great student. She was an attorney with Sidney Austin. Diane loved to travel and would think of nothing of driving across the country by herself, and even went to Vietnam on her own. She had a great sense of adventure as well as being an ethical and caring person. Jim Gray and Bobby Katz set up the scholarship so that their loved ones would be honored, and that giving an involved student from Temple Jeremiah would have an opportunity to receive the education they wanted. And so, tonight we get to award Alexander Hardesty, the Toddy Gray and Diane Mary Katz Scholarship. Alexander has been a part of Temple Jeremiah since before he was born. And I think I first met him when his mom, Jessica, who is one of our first grade teachers, she was just finishing teaching, and Alexander was taking a nap in the corner of her classroom. Alexander is looking forward to studying nursing and is not here today because he is so committed to his other jobs, including scooping all of that ice cream at Graders, and has invited all of us who would want to have a scoop of ice cream on our own expense after this meeting. The Graders in Winnetka. So you gotta, find him at the right Graders. But he had talked about in his essay about his Hebrew name, Avigdor, and talked about how being that family, the father of people, meant that he was tasked from his earliest age, from his earliest memories, to take care of people. And he wants to spend his life doing that. And our ability to support him as a congregation, as a community, as the Gray and Katz family is looking forward to supporting him. We are so proud of him and know that he will be back here, maybe not napping in the corner of the first grade classroom, but will always be a part of our community every summer break and everything. We are so proud of him and so proud to be able to award him this scholarship. So have some ice cream and congratulate him, and I can't wait to see him face to face and to be able to tell him. And proud grandparents. So everyone Wait, he didn't tell you? Okay. And knows how to keep a good thing within a very specific circle of information. So congratulations to Alexander, congratulations to his parents, Gary and Jessica, and to his grandparents, John and Elizabeth.
Very nice. Thank you, Rabbi. All right, we're wrapping up the meeting portion. Any good and welfare out there? Dan?
I want to thank you, Steve. The last 3 years, you've accomplished a lot. It may not always be plastered on the walls here, but you've hired a lot of people. You've done a lot of things under the scenes, which you've taken a lot of lead on, that haven't always gone again. They're not plastered off the wall, but you've done a tremendous lot of work. You spent a lot of time here. Rabbi, you'll get your congratulations in another couple of weeks, but right now, but you have done a lot. You've set the board up and the temple up for a lot of success in the future, so I really just want to thank you.
Well, thanks, Dan. That's really sweet. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And it's truly been an honor and privilege to have a leadership role at Temple. And this place is an incredible place. And Dan hit it on the head that we have a really strong team. And the transition has gone very smooth. And we're excited for Rabbi Heaps to take on the senior rabbi role. And the senior staff, the team is absolutely incredible. And Rabbi Cohn's not going anywhere. He's sticking around as our Rabbi Emeritus and Senior Scholar, and he's going to be present. And we're in a really strong position for success going forward. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Is there any call from the floor in business that you want to talk about that we didn't discuss? Good, as planned. The meeting is adjourned. But now for the best part of our meeting, which is I'm happy to invite up our very own Director of Congregational Learning, Matt Rizian. Matt recently received his Master's in Jewish Education from the HUC Executive Master's Program. This was a 2-year program that started in the spring of 2024, and it concluded with a presentation of his capstone a couple of weeks ago, which I heard went incredibly well. We're very happy to hear about the work you did, the findings you made, and about your capstone projects. No further ado, I hand it off to Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rabbi Heaps for all the tech. So while we're doing this, Annie and Rabbi Debbie, if you actually will pause on that and do the handing out first, that's going to come earlier. So
I'm adaptable if nothing.
it's okay. All right, so there we go, just getting set up. All right. Perfect. Everybody good? All right. So you're going to be getting in a second a little squishy brain and a little squishy heart, and it will make sense in a moment. So that's what's happening with Annie and Debbie. And as they're doing that, I also just want to thank them so much. They're the heart of our JQuest team and do so much for us. So thank you, Annie and Debbie. So my goal for tonight is for you to kind of get a sense of what I explored as my capstone project, but also what was fun and interesting was how to convert something that was a 4-person presentation over an hour and a half on Zoom to a shorter in-person that is for you all. So I tried to shift it, but also keep kind of the heart of it that I thought you would connect with. I will also say as we get there, the concept of an enduring dilemma, that is the, and I'm going to define it. After a year or so, I finally started to get it. So the goal of you all tonight is not to walk out here experts in what an enduring dilemma is, but to try to understand kind of the concept of what it is. And we'll get there. So I also put on here, AKA, the answer to why some of you may have been wondering why I've been so busy for the past 2.5 years. Also exciting to be on this side of it. Okay. All right, there we go. So that is supposed to be me. So this is a little bit about the program itself because it's been a lot of different courses. And so rather than going through all of it, I thought I'd just kind of highlight a few of the things that really made this program stand out for me. I've done a lot of different programs. I also got my master's in Jewish professional studies from Spertus back in 2014. And this just felt very different for me. One of them was coming into this role, I was a little bit newer to the Reform movement. I grew up, I've had different life experiences of all the different movements, and so this just felt like such a special place that I had connection with, but I really wanted to have that background information, and so that was part of what led me to this program. The next piece is cohort-based learning. So there was a cohort, we started with 15, we finished with 14 in our cohort, and it's just so nice to have a community to run programs by and thoughts by, and that was a huge perk of this program. The next thing is also, it wasn't just about the Jewish content, it also focused a lot on leadership. I learned a lot about myself over the course of 2.5 years as well. The staff, the teachers, everyone was just incredible people to learn from, but also to connect with. And then finally, what I think is the most important part is this was one of the first programs I've done where I literally would be in a class reading a book, taking notes, and it would go right into our senior staff meetings or our staff meetings. So I felt that the learning I did instantly enhanced the work that we were all able to do. So that leads me to my next slide, which is thank you. Thank you to Temple Jeremiah. Thank you to our staff, and just the support was felt so much throughout, especially now coming back from graduation. This video, or the picture that you see of our staff, is the watch party that they did to take time out of their day just to appreciate this accomplishment. You can see our cohort celebrating in the bottom, and that's just kind of what makes Temple Jeremiah such a great community, is that you're always being supportive. Yes, Rabbi Debbie.
Sorry. Is everyone supposed to get a brain and a heart?
That is correct. Everybody should have one brain and one heart. Ah. See, and we're all learning about the process as we're doing this. So yes, one brain and one heart, and if we run out, I already know what we're going to do for those people. Yes. All right, so while this is happening, we're going to keep on going. So this is a big point to listen to. This is what is an enduring dilemma. And this is what our whole capstone was about. So there are 4 different groups, and we were all challenged to come up with our own enduring dilemma. So an enduring dilemma is a situation where there is a set of values that are in tension. So on the one hand, we need to focus on this value, but on the other hand, we can't forget this value, and sometimes they can't happen in the same way. So there isn't a wrong way to do it. It is a right and a right, not right versus wrong. And on the next slide, I'm going to share a little bit. It'll start to come together. So these can only be managed. They can't be solved. So it's not, oh my gosh, we did things this way, or this is where we focused, and therefore we are right. It's always a conversation of how we keep doing things differently and better and meeting the needs of our community in each situation. And that's the tension. So the tension is, how can we lean on this one and not on this one when this one could still have a lot of importance? So these are the 4 that our groups chose. And I'm going to go from the bottom up because ours was the top one. The point is not to go through it in depth, but one group chose power and vulnerability. This one I really enjoyed was home and horizon. It was kind of the concept of what we know, what is comfortable, what is our home, but also thinking on the horizon that has to do with change or different, and how that manages. And then there's also preservation and transformation. So that was another one that a group did. But what we're going to explore today is what our group did, and that is the concept of knowing and feeling. I'm also happy, you're welcome to take pictures. I'm happy to send out a link for slides for everybody as well. So, before we get into the deep meat of this, we're going to play a game, and that is the brain or the heart. So I'm going to read you a statement that has two options, and it'll be on the screen. And take a second and think about it. And if you feel, or you'll see how to do this here. All right, here's our first one. So does everybody have a brain and a heart? Perfect. If you don't have, and we are out, let's utilize the Post-its. So if you don't have a heart, grab a heart Post-it. If you don't have a brain, no offense, you can take the thought bubble. All right, so the first one is, when I visit a museum or a historical site, I am most interested in A, reading the information, learning the facts, and understanding the context, or B, taking in what I feel, imagining the stories, and connecting to the experience. So if you are a brain person that feels that, go ahead and lift it up. And if you are a heart, you can lift up your heart. And because they're small, why don't we do this one at a time also? So brains, if you could just hold up your brains there. Wow, okay. It's very interesting how different communities shift. Okay, now brains down, hearts. All right, terrific. All right, so now we're gonna reset and keep going. When I think about my Jewish identity, I primarily connect through what I know, ideas, stories, and teachings, or what I feel, relationships, belonging, and meaning. And this is where you start to see the enduring dilemma. All right, so let's hold up our hearts or our brains. Great. All right, so now let's start. If you're a brain, hold up your brains. Okay, and if you're a heart, hold up your hearts. Great, thank you. And feel free to look around as we do this as well. All right, we've got a couple more and then we're gonna keep going. So when making decisions about Jewish life, for myself or others, I tend to prioritize what is important to understand and pass on, or what will feel meaningful and personally relevant. I know. So let's go ahead and let's do the hearts first. Hearts, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, brains, go ahead.
I'd like to be a heart, but I think I'm a brain.
It's okay. All right, thank you. And then we've got two more here. When I think about being part of the Jewish community, what matters more to me is understanding our shared history and traditions, or feeling a sense of belonging and connection to others, which sounds just like our tagline. All right, if you are more on the brain side, go ahead and hold the brain up. And remember, there's no wrong here. All right, thank you. And hearts, go ahead. Great. And then our last one. If I am participating in a Jewish program, I am more likely to value strong content, thoughtful discussion, and learning opportunities, or a warm environment, meaningful connections, and shared experiences. If you are if you did B, go ahead and hold up your heart. If you did A, go ahead and hold up your brain. Great. Well, thank you all for playing. It also shares a little bit from the start here of what we're all bringing to as a community and some things to think about. So, okay, here we go. So raise your hand. No brains and hearts anymore. We all have both. If you felt like you mostly connected with the brain questions, go ahead and raise your hand. All right. And if you ended up with mostly the heart, go ahead and raise your hand. Great. So this is one that was so interesting, how to shift it from what we did on Zoom, where we popped up without showing which is brains and hearts. It was just a survey. So you clicked A or you clicked B with no context. And then at the end, you got to see the percentages, and we said, look at this. So if you were A, you were leaning more towards the knowledge side. And if you were B, you leaned more towards the feeling side, knowing and feeling, the enduring dilemma. So my EMA capstone was, it was all about thinking, how does this show up in our upper grade programs from 7th grade and up? And it worked out perfect that this was a year that we really had taken a lot of thought into every piece of this and how to change our engagement for teens. So I'm going to fly through this part because I think you get it, but just in case, a little additional context. Of the knowing side, you think about Jewish traditions. It could be our text, traditions, language. It is a lot of formal learning could be, but it could also happen through informal learning. And there was a lot of research I cited that talks about camping that does the knowledge side, even though it's experiential. And then the goal of this is that Torah feels alive and our students are grounded in the knowledge. On the feeling side, it's the other end. We've got the emotional, relational, personal connection. It comes out when it feels meaningful and relevant and connects to the students. And it shapes and supports that identity that reaches them as students themselves. And here's the tension. So you've got the cognitive learning and the emotional, social, experiential side. You've got it shaped by how we do the programs that we do. And then the goal is that students will know enough and feel enough to be able to engage in our programs. JUF put out a survey of post-B'nai Mitzvah retention. And this is something many of you have come up and asked me in different contexts of what happens after 7th grade, where I used to say they're forced to be there as part of the B'nai Mitzvah program, but it is that is the last year that the engagement is decided for them. So as you can see across the board from the last 5 years, the numbers are dropping significantly for post-B'nai Mitzvah. And so this is something that when I presented it, all the people who were there asked for 20 more minutes to look at the percentages. Yes?
Sorry, can you just explain what this is measuring? Is it like the numbers?
Yes, this is the total enrollment of surveyed institutions. And I have the full survey if people want to look into this for an hour-long discussion. But it basically, they surveyed all these supplemental schools for these years. What were the numbers for each grade? And every single year from 2019 through now, you can see that this is, it's a dropping number, which is why we put a lot of thought into this. Yes?
Is this old Reform Judaism or is this different?
This is Reform, Conservative, and I believe some Reconstructionist congregations. Orthodox is harder to skew because a lot of them go to day schools. And also, if this is something interesting, I can have somebody come in and talk more with all of us about it who did the survey. But what that led me to was, some people don't know this, my first Friday night in this role at Temple Jeremiah was the first Friday back from quarantine and COVID. I didn't actually know that. I remember everybody coming in feeling so happy to see each other, and I said, I think it was to Rabbi Heaps, just how nice it was to see, and that was when I found out that that was actually the first time people had come back. The important part of that, besides how great it is that is where I started moving forward. So the programs and the percentages and what we're doing, that's where I have been kind of leading from with all of us. So at the time, our 7th through 9th grade classes really focused on the knowing piece. So it was a lot of discussions and conversations, but it was all classroom-based, and I found that the numbers at the start of the year were significantly higher than what we finished with of students who were showing up. And so we had to take a second step back and figure out what our priorities were. And I know I'm flying through a lot of this just because of time, but happy to discuss more offline, and we can continue the conversation. We decided that every grouping of our grades would have a different theme of connection for us. So we decided 7th through 12th grade is all about embodying Judaism. And so it's all about living Jewishly. And the challenge that we had, I don't want this slide to be a little confusing. The point of this is that we could have thought about it from knowing or feeling for all of these programs. I found that what we ended up doing for our high school programs especially was shifting towards a more knowing approach. So we had high school courses from AJU that Rabbi Cohen taught, where kids come and get college credit for taking high school courses. We expanded our Madrichim program. So Danny took over the Madrichim program and did a lot of leadership classes with them because the teachers were saying that they were in the classroom feeling great, but they didn't actually know how to be responsible. And then Cantor Leanna came in and started a music Madrichim program where she taught them how to be leaders, how to lead songs, how to lead music, and it made a huge difference. We have confirmation, which typically leads to a more knowing approach. And then same thing with post-confirmation now we're going to be doing. And the one piece that I needed to explore, we needed to explore, was our 7th and 8th grade program. So this is the change that we did. We shifted completely to a feeling approach. So we had social days. We took 3 days, and actually yesterday I was at Six Flags, Rabbi Heaps was there. We took them to 3 different days where we just took them off site for community building, fun, and engagement. I should also point out, JUF gave us a $10,000 grant, and JUF Teen Department Springboard gave us $7,500 just for these social days. So I want to make sure in this moment that we appreciate the funding that comes from our community, because otherwise we wouldn't have even been able to think this way. So we did classes in STEM. We brought in the iCenter and the ADL to talk about anti-Semitism and also how to talk about Israel. But for those, they had 2 sessions where they did a lot of the learning side, which led to a project and experiential program that they did in the 3rd session. So for those, you needed a little bit of knowing to get to the feeling side, but it still had the same end approach. Same thing with, they were all about doing and doing things. So we did social action projects. We did a Jewish Chicago trip where they went around in a bus to all these Jewish Chicago sites in Skokie and ended up at a kosher restaurant having burgers and all the things. And it really changed. Not only did we see that the change in numbers, but we also saw the change in the people who wanted to be there. So I heard a lot of parents come up to me this year and say, my kids want to come here. It's wonderful. And that's not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think it's a huge thing that this is what we're leaning towards and trying to get to. And the challenge with it, though, is we chose to emphasize feeling over knowing. And we still have students, especially in 7th and 8th grade, who are looking for that knowing. I will also take it another layer deeper. We have some parents who think we should focus on the knowing. Not in this presentation, but I had a 1st grade parent say, my kid loves coming here, but they can't recite the 4 questions at the Seder. And so those are the things that we had to think about overall. So I got an email, and I don't take it personally at all. I think that's one thing with me and all of us is we appreciate feedback and we try to work with what we're doing. So one of the feedbacks that I got was that the curriculum seemed a little bit weak and disjointed, and it was very focused on social justice and wasn't centered on our history and our tradition. And that's very real, and I don't shy away from it because we had to make a choice. And so that was the context with that, is the family temporarily withdrew, and unfortunately, we couldn't engage them this year. And that's the conflict, is if we lean too far towards the visible knowledge, then we lose the students who don't want to come and sit in a classroom. And at the same time, if we lean too far to the community belonging side, we lose it with the families who want to come here and learn. But here's what I want to share on the other side of it. This is what the enrollment numbers were for this year. We had 43 students in our 7th and 8th grade track program. Now, our 8th graders, we started with about 6 and we ended with about 2 because of different reasons. And that's part of the process with it, is we can't get everybody in 1 year and have it all stick. It's the community that we're trying to build. So our Madrichim program grew by almost double between the music and regular Madrichim, 43 students. Our high school credit course doubled from last year, and our confirmation class had 7 students. But when you look at that, we have 37 high schoolers who are coming to our programs, 85 teens who are registered and coming. And so part of this layer that I also want to add is thinking about it in a different lens, and that is that you all can only know and feel what you see, and how we present that is so important. So a lot of the conversations that I have with our members is, why am I walking down the hall and seeing that the confirmation numbers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Because 7 kids on a wall, which is not to discredit what they are doing, they were incredible and are incredible, but it doesn't tell the whole story of this program that we're putting together. And so by shifting our focus towards community, towards the feeling, the hope is that in the years to come, we will keep moving forward, but it's also had us rethink possibly moving forward, how do we tell this story? So that you all know that this is a thriving, amazing community of teens who want to be here. And that part is me shifting it towards you all, but overall, this was something that a lot of educators understood and connected with. So that was perfect timing for me to understand how the enduring dilemma shows up in our space. And that was why I chose specifically for this teen part. All right, I have a next part. I want to pause. Does anybody have any quick questions about anything?
I
Yes.
just have a comment.
Yeah.
It's just going through this, because I'm starting to think of, I was pretty 50-50 on the heart and the brain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just looking at this too, I feel like a lot of the feelings stem from the traditions based off the learning. If you can follow what I'm trying to say. So for instance, 45 years of Passover Seders in traditions that I've experienced either with my family or with other families has led me to feel very strongly about hosting a solid Passover Seder. So there was a lot of education and knowledge to bring me to the feelings that I have. So I think that there needs to be, I don't know if you can get to that feeling without understanding where the feeling is coming from.
Absolutely.
That's my,
What's also interesting is some of the things that we also think about is what are the things that we want them to learn here? What are the things that they learn through tradition at home? And where does those all kind of come together to make the big picture? And we also know that not everybody gets that at home. So it's kind of for you all peeling back the curtain to show you these are all the things we have to think about when we design this program. So with that, I want to keep going, but I want to just name that I love this stuff. So if you want to discuss further anytime, would love to. But I want to think about where does this show up in other spaces at Temple Jeremiah? So it's time to play part 2 of the game, which is Hold Up the Brain or Heart, Temple Jeremiah edition. So do you experience the following with your brain or your heart? Social justice. Do you experience it with your brain or your heart? All right, so keep your hands up if you experience it with your brains, if you feel. Great. Now go ahead and let's see the hearts. Thank you. High Holy Days. Do you feel it with your brain or your hearts? Or I guess I should say knowing or feeling and not the... So go ahead, if you feel like you're leaning towards the brain side, go ahead and hold that up for the knowing. All right, now go ahead and hold it up with the feeling. It's very hard. And sometimes, this is important, is sometimes it can't always be both, but sometimes one can enhance or reinforce the other. And then finally, how about Israel conversations? That's a 2-hour follow-up, but all right, let's go ahead and have the knowing people hold up the brains there. Okay. Now go ahead and put your hands down. Now let's do the feelings, the heart people. Great. Thank you. It's so interesting. And like what I think about is that everybody comes to our spaces with the lens that they're trying to get out of it. Some of our community will come to the High Holy Days and it is their first time there all year, but they want to walk out feeling like they've been part of this community. At the same time, some people in other spaces, Torah study was the first one that came to mind for me. It's such a magic, amazing community, and some people go up to that community looking for the Torah study. They want the knowing, they want to be pushed with the knowledge. Others show up for that, but the main piece is that community, that being together, that catching up on what's going on in everybody's lives. All right, so I'm going to do one final activity, and that is on your table, you see Post-it notes of hearts and thought bubbles. what I would like for you to do, and there's no limit to this, so you get to think of all the ones. So I want you to think, this is the annual meeting, so I'd like you to think of this past year, all the different experiences you've either attended or thought about, or maybe you didn't attend for a specific reason, that connected to feeling. So if you felt connection in a feeling way, through relationships, belonging, community, emotions, I want you to write those down on the hearts. If you felt a connection in a knowing way, through learning, conversation, ideas, and I just listed some examples, it's really open to your interpretation, go ahead and write those experiences down on the thought bubble. And it can be, this is yours to make for what it will be. You could just write down Torah study. You could write down the lesson by Rabbi Heaps on blah, 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 or Rabbi Cohen taught us this, or the choir singing. So take a few minutes, write as many examples as you would like, and then when you're done with that, I would like for you to go over to the wall and please put the thought bubble ones on the knowing papers and the heart ones on the feeling papers. And we'll take just a few minutes for you guys to do this.
I might be able to.
I can have this conversation.
No, it's
They go nowhere
oh, for sure.
because it's just
There's no right or wrong. It's just
the philosophy of whoever is leading.
oh, thank you. Thanks. All right, so let's take about 2 more minutes. I see some people are kind of trying to figure out what they're doing.
Time to hand it over, right? That was good.
Oh, thank you.
I understood.
Yes. Thank you. All right, so as everybody is finishing up all their things, I also know that I am what's standing in between you all and being home. So here's kind of my closing piece about it, and then one task on your way. The closing piece is that there isn't really no closing piece. We are always trying to find ways to connect to our community. And we know that it is not a one-size-fits-all community, but it is also a community of meaningful connections. And so as you go forward, what's cool to tell you all is when we did this online, we brought back the examples that we started with and said, has anything shifted from the start till now? And is that the time? There we go. So it was interesting. Some people said that after thinking about it, they did lean more towards the feeling side, and some people also felt that knowing side. So as we enter the summer and into the next years, it's always great to know that everybody is here for a reason and that they may not always be coming for the exact same thing. It's kind of like a Friday night when we have the family Shabbat. We say, you know, we want people to feel great. We also know that some people are here to say Kaddish. And we do a beautiful way of trying to merge those meanings and communities. So, with that, I hope that helps give you a new lens to think about things and all that we do, all that we all do. And the last thing is there is a note card on your table. So Annie's going to tomorrow type up all of these examples so we can have a knowing and feeling visual. But that was your idea, Annie. You made... So you can take one of the note cards there, and you can take a couple minutes on your way out and just kind of browse and see what you view and what it looks like for you in the difference between the knowing and feeling. And I think there will probably be some overlap there. Yes, Cantor.
Oh, sorry, can I just make one announcement that I should have made at Good and Welfare?
Yes.
This Thursday night, we're celebrating Shavuot, and Amshalom is hosting, but I'm gonna be participating in the Mariv service and teaching a session on the Jewish history of the American South. And the Mariv is gonna be amazing. They've got Cantor Josh Breitzer as a special guest, plus like all the area cantors. So when you see that in your email, don't be like, oh, it's at Amshalom, I don't wanna go. You should go. It's gonna be Glencoe. It's not far from here at all. It's cute. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it's free, but register. So there's enough cheesecake.
All right, any other announcements? Rabbi Heaps.
So on Saturday, not only do we have a whole lot of teens who are engaged in our learning program with knowing and feeling, but we also have a number of students who are becoming adult bat and bar mitzvah on Saturday. Sure, do the people who are here who are part of the class want to announce themselves? It's up to you. So at 11 o'clock in the sanctuary on this Saturday, all are invited to come and celebrate them, learn some Torah, and just like have a great time together. This Saturday, 11 o'clock, adult B'nai Mitzvah service.
All right, thank you all. Oh. Yeah.
Nice job, man.
All right, thank you.
Drink the rest of the wine, eat the rest of the cheese. Stick around for a few minutes.
Oh, you can keep the brains and the hearts.
Cutting it out, and they're gonna put a donor. I think they want wear and tear, gymnastics.